Just a quick one, John, on obviously we're closer now to the next announcement, I think, regarding the stadium in terms of the next public consultation. So what can we expect to happen next then? Because a lot of Evertonians are saying, seen it a bit on social media.
I was going to say, I saw it on Twitter. Yeah.
So people are saying, like, what's happening next and what's this consultation?
The real important thing is what music we're going to have.
And what music, and we've had all of that from the people's project stuff. What should be the first song we play and all of that. I mean, to me, that's totally irrelevant. The more important thing is what can we expect the next stage to happen and when, I suppose.
You can be half full or half empty, or you can just be pragmatic, can't you? And not worry about the things you can't affect, really. So if we summarise, I'll summarise, you tell me, that's how I recall it.
Okay, yeah.
What the club said they were going to do was they're going to do, we did fan consultation, didn't we? The Dan Meese stuff, which seems like decades ago.
Yeah. So it was like, 14 months ago?
It was January, March last year, or whatever it was. Yeah. And then we followed that up with the... fundamentally the citizens consultation, which was about residents and this is the roadshow thing,
wasn't the roadshow,
and they got loads of stats and all that rubbish. Okay, so while that's going on, in parallel, the board, I guess, are saying to an architect, design us a stadium, please. And if you follow the simple logic of how that happens, it's like any, I was talking to you before, wasn't it, about my missus, and she was some challenge at work, and it was basically about a design, but design for a solution. And her client has a requirement. So what you do is convert the requirement into a design. Now, in architectural terms, I guess that's a concept. We all see concepts, don't we? Chelsea's been the most famous one, I suppose, in recent times. For Stadia, will it ever look like that? Don't even look like they're going to build it at the moment. So you get concepty stuff, and then the architect comes along with these concepts. So, do you like that one? Do you like that one? And the club, please develop that one. Please develop that one. And they're the ones we favour. That's probably, those concept designs are probably the ones that Dan alluded to showing us a year ago, and it never happened, did it?
No.
Eventually, the board, because they're the client, will have to whittle all that down to one concept, won't they? And then that concept has to be developed properly. It has to become more about how's the structure going to physically, all the science around how big are the beams going to be, and it can still change, but you're putting detail into it, and that's probably what got leaked. This is a working document, wasn't it? It's a working document, and that's the stuff you can share with stakeholders. So no doubt the council saw it, and Historic England saw it, and so on. But they're probably no different in vision terms to what Dan had shown at St Luke's, because some of the drawings are the same, and all that. So you're developing it,
as it goes.
Then ultimately the architect is going to say, "This is it." Okay. And so the board will sign off on that and say, that's it. Clearly, again, it can change a little bit, because you're going to do another consultation with fans, which is really where your questions go. And when are we going to get that bit? But some things by then are pretty much cast, aren't they? And let's not go down the journey of the emotive capacity, but maybe that's one of those things that is getting pretty solid by then.
Let me ask you then, because we're coming towards...
Should have said that, should I?
No, well, we're coming towards the end. You shouldn't have said capacity, because I wasn't going to ask you.
That's what I mean, I shouldn't have said
it. As we're coming towards the end of April, we're very clear it should be above 60. But what is a capacity that you would... If Everton have come out and said, at the last and we were at the press release, weren't we, in the Live building when...
Oh, sorry,
for the results
December
of the last...
time, whenever it was.
No, January,
the
results.
Oh, the results of the survey stuff, sorry, I beg your pardon,
So...
I thought you meant when they announced the 52,000.
No, but what they said was 52,000 going to 62,000, didn't they? But what capacity do you think, if Everton had altered it, and Everton have moved it in that time period and gone, listen, we said 52 going to 62, we've had to think about it. We've changed a few of the dimensions.
Or whatever.
And we're actually going to start with...
a different number.
X.
Oh, okay.
Rising to 62,000. What do you think Everton, or for you, I know you wanted 61,878, right? But if it's not going to be that, take that off the table for a minute. What capacity for you would you look at with the club saying it and go, all right, that's all right. I can live with that, rather than it's at what I wanted, it's at 62. If it isn't going to be 62, what capacity would make you would rest easier with you? Because I'm quite clearly you're not happy with 52, because I'm certainly not.
Well, yeah, and I've talked in our podcast.
Or are you telling me that anything under 62 you're not happy with?
No, not.
Okay. I didn't know whether you were just going to say, well, under 62, and that would have been the end of the question.
I don't think it'll ever be 62.
Okay.
Ever.
Right, okay.
Right? So that's the first thing, I guess.
Okay.
Regardless of safe standing or just
of anything else. Okay.
Because the numbers don't stack up when you look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a sad enough person to look at the leaked documents, you can see how many seats there are in each stand.
Yeah.
You can see the claims about how much will be safe standing. You can make assumptions on what ratios they may be. Mm-hmm. I did my own little Twitter poll about how many people would be prepared to stand, for example,
right,
and how many that means if you have that many, and the ratios, whatever.
Mm.
But your real question is, well, let's just talk about the all-seated capacity, because then we don't distort anything by standing and the absolute maximum the site can take and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And when I talk around people and just ask questions, and sometimes it's how you ask the question, right? Mm. So if we say the stadium's capacity is a product of the design, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the design is a product of the requirement, and the client has set the requirement, and the client is the board.
Mm.
Now, you get any group of people together, there'll be leaders on that board whose voice gets heard more than others.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have some form of consensus debate.
Yeah.
And I would suspect there's a huge minority, maybe one person, at board level, who perhaps like us wants it to be 60 or whatever, because it's more of an emotional decision than anything else.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
So your real question is, what's the objective decision? Well, 52 is too small. And I ask people questions, which I've done all this on Twitter and on the podcast. They're not secrets. Do we really want the 7th or 8th highest capacity in the Premier League? How's that play to being a top-notch team? Actually, the capacity is irrelevant. Completely and utterly irrelevant. Now, when people talk about ambition and stuff like that, in some respects, the ambition is how much income can we generate.
Yeah.
Because if we're confident we can generate the income to fuel what we talked about before, which is fundamentally player trading, then part of the mega spreadsheet for that income profile over the next God knows how many years from when the stadium's open is based on the capacity times how much you can get for each seat, how many premium seats there are, how many boxes, and all this sort of stuff.
Of that,
The issue for me is the lower the capacity, the higher the ticket prices will be.
Yeah.
No matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
And I've had dialogue with guys, and they'll know who they are on Twitter and the like, who say, well, if the prices are higher than they are now, I won't be able to afford to go. So that's where the tipping point is. Okay, the chief exec talks about affordable, but that's subjective. We don't know what affordable means. The pragmatists will know prices are going to go up. Okay, now if you have a range of prices, like you're going to soak the premium ticket holders, the prawn sandwich brigade, there'll be a bloody tunnel lounge and all this sort of stuff. But we haven't, as far as we can see in whether it's leaked or just what people have said, a huge amount of premium seating anyway. We're having a lower percentage than Bath Shower have or United or whoever it might be. So ultimately it all comes back to you're going to have more seats with higher ticket prices than we currently have. So on that basis, we want the capacity to be as high as we can.
As high as we can. Yeah.
Rank and file seats.
Yeah.
Seats you and I would sit in.
Yeah.
And so your question is, what's the lowest number you'd accept?
Yeah,
that's really what you're
question. That is my question.
The lowest number I would accept would be whatever it turns out to be, because I'll give you a number in a minute, but because I'll do my damnedest, either with my shareholders hat on or just being an opinionated old so and so, to try and get people who might have a direct influence on the decision to understand that the reasons for why the capacity is what it is will need to be explained at some stage, and if any of those reasons sound like lack of ambition, then they're letting us down. So where I always come back to is it's like the South Stand. The South Stand's got 15,000 on it, right? Instead of whatever it is, 12, 13-ish, 12, 7 or whatever. Then who's going to be upset at Evertonians? Not really.
No.
So you can almost say, well, whatever you've
other than Spurs, that'd be the biggest, right?
So that single tier and all that, imagine it.
It'd be unbelievable.
God, they'll have to buy more flags.
So that's the reason.
So that's one thing, and I'll come to a number in a minute. So that's one thing that could do. But I asked somebody a real direct question. God knows, it was months ago now, and I basically said, don't care what you say about consultation and all that sort of stuff. If the design's pretty much set, most people watching this will say it probably is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly the physical side of it.
Yeah.
They know the footprint. Dan keeps going on about how tight it is. We're doing a north-south orientation, which probably makes it even tighter. Blah, 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 blah. So they know we're going to build this concrete structure, the bowl.
Yeah, the bowl.
Okay. And that can contain a certain number of seats. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you can clearly increase the capacity if you can get higher than 1-to-1 ratios for safe standing, but I've already said we're not going to talk about that. So how many seats can you really get in there?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah?
Yeah.
By changing assumptions, changing some dimension, internal and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And the answer was, we could probably squeeze another 3,000 in.
Okay. So
Now,
that would make 55.
So I didn't pursue with those,
Yeah.
you know, and I guess because we've not seen the design, maybe it would all become obvious, because maybe it's a bit like Old Trafford was with the quadrants. You know, you've got corners that don't have seats and you can put them there. Maybe it's to do with physical dimensions, therefore you can squeeze more seats into a space because of what they've allowed, and because we can make judgments on how much space do we think people really need, and whether we want it to be. And we talked about this before, didn't we? If you look at the Emirates, Craig, it's like armchairs.
Yeah.
You know, so that compromises atmosphere, because there's less. The density of people is what drives atmosphere.
Yeah.
So if they come out with the design and say, as one might expect, we've listened to the fans, we've listened to the consultation, and actually we've re-looked at the designs, and actually we can get another 3,000 seats in there, and they're all going to be in the South Stand.
Yeah.
And therefore the new Gladys Street, if you will, has got 15,000 people in it. That's what, 30 or 40% bigger than the Cop?
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But steeper, closer to the pitch, blah, blah, blah. The originals are right behind the goal instead of tucked up in the boys' pen. All that sort of stuff. No one's going to get uptight. So it's funny, isn't it? Because they're very small numbers. Yeah, I want it to be
I know you do.
the maximum the site can take.
I think if you...
But I doubt we'd get huge descent. No one's going to go to the mattresses over the last 4,000 or 5,000 seats, are they? So 55-ish, maybe a bit more, certainly not less.
I think I said all along it had to be 55 for me. There was the minimum number it had to be. 55 was the King's Dock in 1999.
It's funny you say that, because I nearly said as part of my answer was, surely it's got to be at least what the King's Dock was going to be.
Exactly, and that was 55. But like you've just said before we finish on this point, I've got a few questions from our patrons that want to ask you. But if you can, if these seat widths are bigger than...
Say they're like the Emirates. Not, well, according to those drawings, they're not like the Emirates, but...
No, but they're still big.
They might be bigger than Goodison, for
example. They'll be well bigger than my Upper Bullen seat.
Oh, right, the wooden
one, I can guarantee you. But if it's something like the Park End, like you alluded
so there's some legislation, isn't it?
Right, so if they were even slightly bigger than that, but that enabled more seats to go in, then stop trying to create this big new palatial thing and just get as many seats in safely, in with the regs, as you can, because then I think we've definitely got to do 55. And listen, if they say, well, listen, there's a section here, a safe standing, and if it ever changes, that means it can go to 60, because with the other 5,000 seats, whatever, great. But put 55
I think that's the point.
If you can.
I think that's the point. If people want to have the debate, I think we shouldn't be seduced by the absolute maximum of 62,000, which has got loads of caveats about demand and planning and legislation and all that.
Yeah.
Therefore, the wise men might say it's never going to happen. You know, what it opens with is what it's going to be. You know, and everything else is a bonus.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you're talking about the thing, and I've never sat in different places around, you know, the Emirates, but I'm assuming every seat's the same. Hence why it's shallow and the views aren't great and so on. But the seats are fabulous and sort of thing. Then that designated home end and South Stand, surely, if it does nothing else, it has to fulfil the first of these principles of being the fortress. And what drives atmosphere, apart from the fact standing will come into it, is density.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So if we are going to move from, the club are listening, guys, please.
Yeah.
If they're going to be able to figure out, can we get from 52 to 55, because that's what Baz wants, so he can say, I told you so, Put them all in the South Stand.
Yeah, definitely.
And if that has to compromise a little bit comfort, should we say, I mean, I don't know how many Evertonians there are out there right now who want to be in the South Stand, and we're talking about the lower part.
Yeah, of course, the front bit of it.
Who want to be on there, who anticipate that the major criteria for you deciding to be there is going to be how big the seat is,
Yeah,
or how big the tread depth is, and where your knees are. No, because frankly, we're going to be stood up. So.
We stood on the yellow wall, and it was incredible.
It was.
And I'm not being funny. That actual stand is grungy. It's not. There's no bells and whistles
the
on it.
Part of it in particular.
Exactly. It's no bells and whistles. It's concrete. It's got stickers all over it. It's probably got 1 million pints of lager spilled from when they score.
All people want to do is get on it.
People stand on it and want to go there. They're not interested in how comfortable it is or whatever. But that atmosphere is incredible. We've seen at Goodison in the last few home games when the atmosphere is bouncing. It's no coincidence that the team looks amazing because they are clued up. They're into it, the energy. Seamus Coleman talks about the energy, and if we can do that at Bramley-Moore and get it as on top of the players as possible, it will become the fortress that people are talking about.
I said years ago now, our much loved previous chief exec,
oh yeah,
because
we all loved them
because his inspiration was the yellow wall.
Yeah.
And I said to him, although it was a bit cheesy, part of a dream there is imagine people. The Gladys Street and the park end behind one goal.
Yeah.
First dibs. Yeah. You know, my mate John won't like it because he's in the upper Bullens. They want to go there. But and that becomes a secondary thing that will have to be future discussions about how do you get tickets, how do you determine which stand you're going to go in. Are they going to say the south stand is Gladys Street, therefore everyone in Gladys Street gets first dibs, which means if you're in the Gladys Street now, do not give up your seat, and so on and so on. But if we have that vision of the second large, is it in Europe? Tottenham's one.
Apparently, the single tier. Apparently, so they say. I don't know.
Certainly in this
definitely
country,
the Premier League.
Yeah. So we'd have the second largest terrace, if you want to call
in
it
the Premier League.
In the Premier League, and the atmosphere would be astonishing.
Be incredible. Then we'd all go for it. Got some questions.
So maybe 55's the answer. I don't know.
Who knows? But it's more than 52 anyway. That's what we're saying. This is from Lee Middleton, not Everton Business Matters related, John's podcast of course, but I'd like to ask him his thoughts on the attitude by some Evertonians that we shouldn't celebrate Manchester City winning last night as basically another member of the Business Matters came out and said, why are you celebrating if Liverpool don't win? What's your take on Evertonians celebrating if Liverpool don't win the league, John? Isn't that rivalry? It's what Lee says. Surely that's rivalry.
Yeah, I think my answer's on Twitter somewhere because I think that stream was going on late last night, wasn't it?
Well, give us a one sentence.
Very simple. Every Evertonian I know wants us to win and them to lose. Period.
And that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't dilute my support of Everton wanting Liverpool to lose.
No. Sure.
And by the way, we've just been harangued by half a dozen of that shower before.
We have some of the nonsense.
Despite their great season, they're still more interested in trying to talk us down. Sorry, not more. As interested, because that's the banter, that's the rivalry, and what heightens the experience is having a really close neighbour who you want to get one up on. Yeah. And if we get, as you said, it goes back to days gone by where getting one up on them is we win the league and they're second. Fantastic. But between now and then,
we want
give it to them whenever we can.
I don't want them to win anything. So
ever.
There you go. Ever, Michael O'Keefe, another patron, said, do you think the funding for the stadium will impact on finances for the playing squad over the next few years?
I think it would be a fool who said no, it won't impact at all. Okay. I guess the assumptions within the business modelling would be that the upside will outweigh blah. Therefore, it should be as minimal. I think one of the interesting things which we might want to consider is how the funding is done. I mean, if the funding is done broadly through debt or through some one-off bond issue type things, therefore, to use a phrase, it's ring fenced.
No.
And you might then say any shareholder investment from Mr. Mashiri or whatever would focus on enhancing the squad. And I think that the club clearly should, and I'm sure they have, considered what's happened with other clubs and whether, for example, Tottenham will really have to be cautious around player dealings because of the stadium. Their debt's going to be far bigger than ours anyway, but then their income streams are going to be greater as well. So I think it's a risk, and a risk register will be on the programme somewhere, so they'll have to monitor it and do the best they can to mitigate it.
See how we go. Adam Galloway have you seen any realistic prospect from the youth teams that you think may get into the first team? I know you were at the 23s last week.
But like I'm a fair weather under 23 supporter. I go because they're going to win something. I think Josh Bowler looked really. He was the standout from what I saw, and he's done it again in the cup, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
So
he's the one you think maybe. What about Lewis Gibson? And he's been on everyone's lips.
Yeah.
Look okay.
Yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it, John? Because
it's a big gap.
Me and Pat have said, when we've seen Mason Holgate in it, he strolls through with his slippers on, and Kieran Dowles looked great in it, and Tom Davis was head and shoulders above. But none of them
such a gap.
None of them three hold down a regular place in our first team. Two of them are on loan, and Tom's sub. So, it is a big gap, isn't it?
Well, it is a big gap, but if you look at other clubs, and how they treat that competition. And the under 18s as well. There's some really big clubs who just don't perform at all.
No.
And so then you get into, and this is the director of football thing again. You get into, what have we got an academy for? It's great if we find a player and he ends up being the next gem who goes into our team and hopefully sticks around and things like that. But it's interesting to listen to people who want to say that what's the point of having an academy unless 3 or 4 players come through into your squad? That's not going to happen. Doesn't happen in any other club. Doesn't matter how much you're spending on academies, it just doesn't happen. So it's about, going back to your question about self-sufficiency. If the academy's self-sufficient, in the sense that what it costs, and it doesn't contribute to financial fair play, so that's good, whatever it costs, it more than outstrips that. Then you're not taking it's a bit like kind of tax relief. You're not having any liability against financial fair play for the spend on the academy, but clearly you can take the profits and use them somewhere else, i.e. buying players. And I think that top 6 thing, which we want to break into, there's very few academy graduates in any of those teams as well. And the ones that are
Alexander-Arnold and I suppose Phil Foden.
So there's very few. And I think it's harsh to say, Tom Davis is just on the bench.
No, I just meant he's head and shoulders when I'd seen him in the 23s.
And that's the point, because there is a gap. And
I'm a big Tom fan, as
ditto. And that's why you have to be cautious about players who look special.
Well, Ellis Sims is the one that's on everyone's lips, and he's miles away.
Who looks special in a league where you don't tackle and stuff like that. And that's why players don't go in there. And despite the fact you can have 3 overage players, that's why they don't put fully developed pros in there to do rehab and stuff, because they actually don't get anything out of it.
No, it's not good, is it? Jill Crean, who's a Peyton. I would welcome John's views on the deal announced with Umbro. Does he consider this to be a statement of our ambition, or have we taken the safe route? This is a good one.
That question is good.
Yeah, because Jill always asks good questions, and she likes your responses.
I see, right, okay. Devil's in the detail, I would think.
Okay.
I would think that hopefully we've learnt from previous deals that we've done. And let's use the analogy of players. When we're talking about players and do you get the ones you want, there's always people have different perspectives. There's going to be people out there, well, I like Nike stuff, or I like Under Armour stuff.
Even though Nike was crap for us.
Or whatever. Or people who say those premium brands show what you're all about. If you've got Adidas or Nike or whatever, that's better than Umbro. Who are they? Where's Rushy with some milk? Whatever. So there is that. I have little doubt we'll generate more income from this deal than we did. I also have little doubt it'll be nowhere near as good as what the others are doing. So anyone who listens to our podcast and hears me do that foot race analogy, these people are still running away from us. And so the real answer to the question is how incredibly poor our commercial performance is, and what are we doing about it. And doing marginal improvements on existing deals. I think it's probably harsh to say we're taking the easy way out, which we might have done in the past, particularly on the retail side, which is more of a Fanatics type thing. And I think the Fanatics thing is probably a better deal, indicator is a good word, than the Umbro one. Because I think one of the reasons I suspect we don't know how long these deals are lasting, albeit we know Fanatics will run up to the new stadium, just because they said they're going to have a big shop there, is will be far more attractive, hopefully. And it's about cycles. I know we talked before about player cycles, squad cycles. Same with these deals as well. And maybe what we've actually done is said, well, let's have a little bit of an extension, because A, it's a little bit better and then can we do something to make ourselves more attractive for the next time? The football analogy is you don't want to be the man who follows Ferguson, you want to be the man who follows the man. Yeah, albeit they're on about the fourth iteration of that now, aren't they? I mean, so maybe the one that somebody somewhere should be saying really does have to be a sea change is not this deal, it's the next one.
I mean, all I would say, and I'm without having my business head on or anything like that, is if it's better than the last deal, then at least we're edging in the right direction.
Absolutely.
But I'd like you say, I mean, no details.
But as a curveball on that, I went to an IOD thing, which was Peter Moore.
Oh yeah.
And listened to Peter pontificate about how wonderful the club he works for.
Yeah.
And somebody from the audience asked about the shirt deal because they're about to renew one.
Another one.
Yeah. And he basically said, the three big boys, are all courting them.
Yeah.
And of course he's not going to break any commercial confidences and all that sort of stuff, which is what you'd say when you don't know what the outcome's going to be anyway. But it will be comparable to the bigger deals. So he's clearly targeting that they're going to get 60, 70, 80 million pounds a year out of their renewal. And maybe, Adidas pushing 1.4 billion someone's way may mean it's not them, because they've got their marquee guys on board, and that is the issue. That if we're getting 20, that's a third. So in that foot race we're falling behind, and that's the thing. The first thing you have to do is you have to stop the gap increasing, then you want to close it. And perhaps the quickest way to do that is through on-field activities. So let's be smarter on player recruitment, take advantage of what might be an interesting season next season.
Start winning something.
Richie
Hetherington, I've heard John discuss lots about Bramley Moore. My question is aimed at the new stadium.
Ooh.
Haven't seen the magic of Goodison return in the last couple of months, the noise and intimidating atmosphere that has helped us in those last 4 fixtures. Do you believe the club will attempt to recreate BMD as a stadium with this character close to the pitch rather than corporate grounds like the Emirates?
Emphatically. What's the guy's name?
Richie,
have you been paying attention? Everything the club have said since day one is about that enabling the atmosphere. And I think because we did that trip to Dusseldorf and to Dortmund, and we've seen it in fact Shrewsbury as well. It's only about enablement. Actually, we make the atmosphere. The only thing that's changed at Goodison is the fans. Really.
People out.
The structure's the same. The lads, the originals, they've tried to motivate people, and the club have bought a load of flags and people wave them, and so on and so forth. We can make the atmosphere tremendous regardless of the structure that surrounds us. But in Dan Meese, we've got a guy who's telling us that what he's going to deliver clearly has got to be based on the requirement the clients have asked him to deliver, which is it's our fortress. And if we do what we've talked about trying to get the capacity up a little bit, and we've got this south stand with 15,000 people on it, certainly more than 12.5, 13,000 if the leak documents alone are right, and then we stick another couple of 2,000 or 3,000 on top because we all want the capacity to be more. It's down to us then. It's down to us. And we can, the last home game of the season, which is great, isn't it, being a Friday? Let's just do it.
Let's do it, Cumbria and Toffee, does John think the club should offer new deals to Jags and Baines, given we might qualify for Europe, or not by offering new deals will give opportunities to Lewis, Gibson and Anthony Robinson?
I did this. Was it with you? Did I have a dialogue with Twitter with you?
Probably.
I said let both of them go.
Yeah, you did actually. It's on WhatsApp.
Let them both go. Was it WhatsApp, was it?
We'll let both go.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I think Jags will go. I think Baines will be offered another year. But
I think that's where we got to in our discussion. I can see, because if we haven't done anything about the left back situation, because we're right stacked in behind Luca, aren't we? And we haven't blooded anybody else, therefore it's a risk. But of course, go back to some of the questions we had before. We don't know where Brandt is up to.
And he could have something lined up, couldn't he? Who knows? Steve S, is John planning to go to Tottenham?
Yes.
It looks as though it's going to be a very tough act to follow in terms of the perceived quality of the place and its amenities for the fans. Does John think we will be able to build something equally iconic, or are we already a few steps behind given a lower capacity and a smaller footprint?
I'm not sure what the footprint has got to do with it, to be honest. Iconic's an interesting word because clearly it's very subjective. you know, a brand spanking new stadium on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey has got to be more iconic than a formulaic bowl in North London. Yeah.
Well, Wim Hendricks, just on that for you answered it, said, wouldn't it be a bigger difference than Spurs anyway, because Spurs built their stadium over their old one, where we're moving to a new site altogether.
So the iconic bit, I think we have to take Dan at his word.
Yeah.
And those people who've claimed to see designs that have not been finished yet.
Yeah.
But hey ho, clearly sort of concepts, but whatever. The capacity thing's always an issue. The inside is what counts.
Yeah.
And then it depends from a marketing point of view. It's what it looks like on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey and all those liners coming in. Oh, that's where Everton are. Yeah. But actually, for us lot, it's what goes on inside, isn't it? So if you do the pros and cons, then I think what Spurs have done, which is the lots of tiers, which gives them proximity. Yeah. But to me, I'm not getting all wound up about Spurs being that iconic. It looks like lots of other stadiums to me, and I'm sure it's tremendous, and I will enjoy it when I go there.
Yeah.
You know, we'll be in a corner somewhere. But of course it'll be iconic because it's in Liverpool, so it has to be.
And it may be more iconic than Spurs, to be honest.
No, not may.
Well, it will be because of the proximity of it with the city. The skyline, the Mersey.
Listen, the bells and whistles and the toys that we'll have, there'll be a tunnel club and all that rubbish.
Yeah.
And whilst the site is tight, as Dan often tells people, part of what makes it tight for him is a decision which presumably the client made to have it as a north-south orientation. So the negative of that is it's really tight this way because that's the length of the stadium.
Yeah.
But the positive is huge fan zone.
Yeah, massive. Yeah.
You know, and I've not seen any fan zone at Spurs, and it's a huge monster of a building. And I will see in a couple of weeks what it's actually like. People who've been to it say it's absolutely awesome. And it's 62,000, but it'll never have that number of people in it watching football anyway. Because it's got 2 pitches on it.
There you go. Big thanks to John for coming in.
Welcome. Cheers, mate.
Answering these questions and mine as well. Make sure you check out Everton Business Matters podcast. Excellent. And there's more of that, all of that business stuff. Much more intelligent talk between, well, you know, with the stuff you do. We just talk
about the guys must bring the intelligence.
We just talk about the football on here and who brands should buy. So there you go. Check out Everton Business Matters podcast. Thanks for watching.